Welcome back to another episode of Paladin Financial Talk. I'm your host, Nikki Foley, and I am with the magnificent, the wonderful Mr. Tony Shore. Yay, a thumbs up over there. Tony, we are celebrating Women's History Month. Ding,
Excellent.
ding, ding. Yep, we're in March here, and so we're dedicating this whole month to exploring the intersection of finance and empowerment as it relates to women. We think that this will be a fun topic for us this month.
I think it's a great topic, and I've been hearing all about this. I don't know if it's me or more than ever, but in the media and even on TV shows and on the radio, I've been hearing all about this. And so I think this is great. Women's History Month.
I think it's good, and I'm really quite excited about who we have on this month. So it's not just going to be me all month long or Ellie. We have some great guests. But today, let me talk just a little bit. We're discussing the crucial role that women have played in our history here and continue to play in shaping the financial landscape. And so I think this one will be a fun one. And this is not just for the female ears out there. We're speaking to everybody, and I think you'll find that we're bringing some good stories along the way. But also, like I said, a little foreshadowing a second ago, we have some great upcoming speakers that are going to be with us. And so we have two fantastic guests towards the end of the month. The last 2 weeks of the month, we'll be highlighting these women, and they've made a really big impact on the financial services industry. And then Ellie next week is going to be here, and she's going to be giving us some resources, books, podcasts, things of that are dedicated to this month as well. So lots of good stuff.
I think it's great. And, women have made huge impacts in the financial world. I mean, in the business world in general, but in the financial world. And I live with a real go-getter, as you know. My wife, Sarah, she is the director of recruiting for a large healthcare company, or Cassia Care. They own assisted living and memory care units all over the place, and she's their director of recruiting. And she's just worked her way up from staffing and HR all the way up to being director of recruiting for a company. And I've never seen anyone network like her, and there are so many more women in top positions and running businesses. But even in the financial world, it used to be old white men, basically, was the demographic for financial advisors and financial professionals. But that's really changing.
Yep.
As you've proven, Nikki, yourself.
Here we go. Well, I have to vouch for Sarah as well. She is one incredible female as a whole. She has raised wonderful daughters
Yes.
with the two of you guys together. And my first introduction was to her in a recruiting role, and she was gangbusters. I needed to hire somebody, and I'd call Sarah. I'd be like, Sarah, I need somebody, and away we'd go. And so I think there was probably 6, 7, 8, 9 people that she was able to assist me with. And so strong females, absolutely. And Tony, it takes a lot to have that as part of your world, because you're juggling a lot of things. But Sarah is top notch, and so I'm glad that we could give a shout out to her while we're starting here.
Yeah, me too.
I also have another strong female sitting next to me, and so let's introduce Katie. Katie is the newest addition to the Paladin Financial team. She is bright, she is talented, and she's made an instant impact on our organization, which I had no doubt when I hired her. That's how we were going to go. But she has proven to be true. We're on week number 4. 4 weeks. All right. She keeps coming back. And let's acknowledge her as our newest female in finance for our organization. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
right.
That sounds great. So what's your role? Are you getting to that? What's Katie's role at Paladin?
Yeah, absolutely. I am Paladin's executive assistant. I'm supporting the sales team, the operations team, a little bit of here and there, whatever is needed. So I'm very excited to be here. Since this is my first podcast, I thought it would be fun to bring a few fun facts with me.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Look at that. She
Awesome.
came prepared.
Awesome.
That is a little foreshadowing foreshadowing might be the right word. I'm not quite sure on that one, but this is why I hired her. She's like, let me bring some fun facts. Yes, you should bring some fun facts.
That's perfect.
Awesome. So first, Muriel also goes by Mickey Siebert, who in 1967 became the first woman to purchase a seat on the New York Stock Exchange, challenging the male-dominated Wall Street culture. Another trailblazer is Abigail Johnson, the CEO of Fidelity Investments, one of the largest asset management companies in the world. Her leadership has been instrumental in driving innovation and growth in the financial services industry.
And I have another one to add to that, Marianne Montaigne, who I got to know through my time at Gradient Investments. She has been a pioneer in the financial services industry, and she is one of our guests that's going to be on with us in a couple weeks. And she has seen, and I'm so excited for her to be able to tell her story and give some thoughts and feedback through the decades that she has been in the industry. And so I have to wrap her in here. She is CFA and had just a really, really beautiful background and a nice tenure in the industry. And she's recently retired and so is now consulting and doing public speaking. And she has a podcast and is really enjoying her new life and still being able to use her expertise, but doing it on her own terms. And so she is one of our guests coming up in a couple weeks.
Excellent.
Okay, you gave us a couple of, besides Marianne, I got another one here. And I think that these two worlds converge really well. So we're talking about financial industry leaders, people that have made an impact on the financial services side of things. However, I think entrepreneurs, this all ties together. I mean, think about what female entrepreneurs have done for our economy and the things that they have, just the inspiration they have given to other women along the way and just people in general. And so I want to bring in entrepreneurs to this. It's kind of an extension of what we spent last month talking about was business ownership and real estate. But I have one that's kind of near and dear to my heart a little bit here. So I was in a sorority. Delta 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 was my sorority in my college days here. And has anybody heard the name Sarah Blakely? Anybody?
That sounds familiar to me.
Okay, warm. Okay, Katie's shaking her head no. Sarah was the one who founded Spanx. And this is background, like
right.
cheering background noises right now because she transformed the world, took it by storm with the invention of Spanx. And I think every woman over a certain age at least owns a pair of Spanx or a version of that. And so she was a Tri-Delta. And so when she came out and it became a thing, it was such a big deal in our network of friends because she was a Tri-Delta and that was our background.
Yeah, just so none of our listeners panic though, I have never owned Spanx. So I want to point that out.
I am so glad you did, Tony. I think that is a worthwhile point that we're having here. But at the time, she was one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America. And that was just a testament to the power of female entrepreneurship and what an impact it can have on our economy. So, okay, that was a fun one that I needed to share with you guys.
Did you have another female entrepreneur you talked about in our morning meeting last week?
Yeah, we did. So you may know this about me, but I listen to podcasts a lot. I like to read books and listen to audio books. And so I told Ellie from our team this morning, she's like, you are obsessed with Mel Robbins. And I was like, yes, I am. But this is what happens. I drive to the gym and I drive home to the gym. That gives me 12 to 15 minutes each way. And then I drive to work and I get another 12 to 15 minutes. So before I even get into the office, I've had almost 45 minutes of like all this infusion of good stuff. And so that's why I come up with these fun facts. I'm like, they're part of my world when I walk in the door.
Wait, who's Mel Robbins?
Oh, Tony, this is a good one. Okay, some of you may know I am a huge Mel Robbins fan, and I listen to her podcast all the time, and I'm really envious of Katie sitting next to me here. She's going to tell you a story here in a second. She has met Mel Robbins. Okay, if you haven't heard of Mel Robbins, she was trial attorney, turned broadcaster. Now she's a motivational speaker and author and all of that.
I've heard the name from you, but I've never heard you say, and I've never listened to her stuff. I guess I should. It's motivational?
Motivational.
Okay.
She is about as real as it comes. You can have topics all over the board. But, Tony, you have probably a 25-minute drive. You can get a lot in 25 minutes. So Mel Robbins on your Spotify.
I listen to audiobooks and podcasts all the time, so I'll check it out.
All right. She started her podcast when she was 54 years old. Amazing, right?
Really?
Right?
Wow.
And it is currently ranked, is my understanding, number 2 on all of podcast on Apple, at least on that platform.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive because that's one of the largest podcast platforms.
Yeah. So to think that, you've been a lawyer, you've been a broadcaster, this motivational speaker, and then, hey, I'm 54. She launched it on her birthday at age 54. I was like, go get it, sister. Isn't
That's
that amazing?
awesome.
Fantastic.
Okay, you have to tell us a story.
Yes,
Tell us something
yes.
about Mel Robbins, because I'm so
Yes.
envious here.
I had the pleasure of meeting her at my previous job. Briefly met her and attended one of her motivational speeches. She's incredibly powerful and extremely motivational. It was a great pleasure to meet her. Yes.
Anything like behind the scenes, and if you can't tell because you have a little confidentiality or something, that's okay.
Very cool sneakers.
Yes.
Very cool sneakers.
There
She
we
was
go.
wearing cool shoes,
Definitely.
and I assume she was nice. I mean, some
So
speakers and
kind.
celebrities, when you meet them, it's a letdown.
So down
because,
to earth and
really,
so
that's great.
personable.
That's
Definitely.
great.
Yep.
And perfect for Women in History Month to recognize somebody who is out there making a difference.
Yes.
I mean, she's current, not necessarily history, but still, yeah.
I do. I think that's the spirit of what our conversation is today. It's people that have been and gone in front of us, that have made an impact, and that have paved the way for some of the things that are benefiting us as women, but also that is just helping our economy, helping everybody along the way. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about some of those characteristics that come for females and what they are doing for us. There is another. I just can't stop talking about my podcast and my books that I'm reading and all that. Okay, there's another one. There's another one here. So Jamie Kern Lima is the founder of It Cosmetics. And this is her story. She was I think she was like a Denny's waitress or something like that during college. So really a down-to-earth individual, went into broadcasting. She was on the local news. I think that she was Oregon, Washington-based, something like that. Her makeup would melt on TV, and so no problem in some situations, but she has rosacea. Is that how you say it? Rosacea? Yeah. And so her red, it's hereditary, but her red would come through. And so all of a sudden she'd be in the middle of a telecast and people would be waving at her and her makeup was melting. And so what did she do? She solved a problem. She's not into makeup. That was not her background, but she created a product for that situation. And on she went to sell it to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion in cash, and she became the first CEO of one of their companies, first female CEO of one of their companies. And so you see things like this about you have an idea, you have a problem, and if you can be somebody that just takes that next step, I mean, what an incredible thing that she's been able to
huge.
do. Yeah, she told this story about how she was sitting in a meeting where she was asking for a round of funding. The business had already been successful, but they needed another round of capital. And she thought it was going really well, thought she had this one as a laydown. And they got to the decision-making process, and the individual that she was, the main investor that she was sitting with, told her that they were going to pass. And she baffled. And so human nature says, well, tell me more. Give me some feedback here. And he told her he just didn't believe women would buy makeup from someone with her body and her weight. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Exactly. And so moral of her story was
Yikes.
rejection can also be protection. And she went on, but just a few years later, to sell it for $1.2 billion. And so, of course, she wanted to be like calling up the guy and being like, hey, remember when we were all sitting together?
Yeah.
But she was gracious, and that is a testament to her. But her message was simply believe in yourself. And she wrote a book on it, and it's called Believe It. And I just think that those are the good stories of, much like our guest last week, is give me the real nitty gritty and the dirty about what's going to happen to me along the way, but have the faith in yourself and the testament in your, that you can do this, believe in yourself. And so,
Yeah, Dee Dee last week really was impressive with what she's accomplished in the same way. That's great.
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we're here for a financial podcast, right?
Okay.
Okay, so let's keep going. Katie, anything along the way here you want to share? So it's a financial podcast, women in investing. Any things that you've predictions? Do you think women are good at it or not good at it? What do you think?
Okay, so I come from a legal background, not financial, so I haven't had the same exposure that you've had or the rest of the Paladin team. However, I do know this. Women are savvy decision makers, so I think it's no different for financial services. Women are often detail-oriented and intentional, ensuring that no rock is left unturned, so to say, when facing a decision.
All right. I think that's a pretty good prediction. So things I heard you say is detail-oriented, intentional, pretty good place to start. So you're right. So research shows that women tend to be more risk adverse and have a longer term perspective when it comes to investing, which can lead to more stable and sustainable investment strategies. So what you have said there, this is a good thing. Research also says, though, I'm going to flip to the other side of it, look at it, the ball from the other side. Women have a habit of thinking money is too complicated, or they have grown up in a traditional atmosphere at home where mother, female, may have taken care of the household things, where the male, father or granddad, took care of the finances. And so they are comfortable in that setting, and it's something they know a certain thing. So that can be a bad thing as we look at these things. So my recommendation, it's not whether you're financially intelligent or not. It's about taking that first step and just doing it. And that was the words of wisdom from Dee Dee last week, is just do it. Do something.
You said it just a moment ago. The research states it. Most women are naturally positioned to make decisions within their level of comfort. They're risk aware. So now trust yourself. But if you can't manage that first step, you don't have to go it alone. Find someone who can guide you and partner to create and manage your wealth.
Absolutely. I think that's a good point, that we're talking about people's finances here. And as people talk about their finances, that can be very intimidating. And women, like we've said, they are risk aware. So they may not go big and all of that. But because this is your nest egg, this is your retirement, it may not be comfortable to get out there and do it. So that's when, you can partner, you can find somebody. And that's exactly what Paladin Financial does, is we partner with people all day long in helping them navigate. And so I think that's a good perspective. All right, so let's keep going here. And you hear me say this, or this is one that I use quite often. Maybe people have heard it on the show, but begin with the end in mind. And so, unfortunately, as we said some of those things just a moment ago, that as females, we're going to have a time in our lives, or I'm going through some statistics here in a second. So as a female, we are going to go through a time in our lives probably that we are going to be alone. So, Tony, putting you on the spot here, but
Sure.
What would be a time that a woman might be alone?
Well, when her husband passes.
Got it.
Because women typically outlive men by like 6 years, typically.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That's a perfect example. And are divorce rates high or low?
High,
unfortunately. Yeah. So as you think about it, beginning with the end in mind and taking the steps to get comfortable in finances now before you're going through one of those very stressful situations that you are, knowledge is power. It gives you financial freedom. Get comfortable rather than adding that to your list when you're separated, divorced, widowed, and you're going through, a lot of other financial or emotional states. Okay, this is where I was going to give you a few statistics here. Women couldn't get their own credit cards until 1974.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But men could. For some reason, women couldn't. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Women couldn't be on a home loan until late 70s, early 80s. Mm-hmm. Read a story about that recently. Yep.
That recent.
Uh-huh. Which seems crazy because that is like my growing up
Same.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then things that you don't even know, I think, oh my gosh, was it just my dad on the mortgage? You just wouldn't know that. And then how long does it stay like that? Because, anyway.
Yeah.
Data from 2022 says women make 82 cents on the dollar. For every dollar that the man makes, a woman makes 82 cents. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But, okay, go to the positive here. More women are investing in recent years. So Fidelity, who is a household name, did a study that 67% of women now invest outside of retirement, which is an increase by 44% since 2018. So that's a really promising number. And women also get better results when compared to men. And they found that same study, women outperformed, their male counterparts over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
So back to what you said.
Which is why
Katie.
I should just have Sarah take over the finances completely, is what you're saying.
Really? Her and I had a little conversation. That's what I was leading
probably
to.
a good idea anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. So back to everything that you started with, Katie, there, that women are naturally wired to be conscientious, make really good decisions, and so they're naturally positioned to be good at this.
And let me add, I think it's also that statistic about they're more successful with their investments, and is a lot to do with they're not afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not as afraid to go to a financial professional and meet with them about finances.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, men, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, they say. And I think, not to stereotype, but men, it's like not asking for directions. It's the old stereotype. Men think they can do everything on their own or feel they have to prove themselves. And women aren't afraid to say, hey, I'm going to go to a professional for this. It's like my dad avoids going to the doctor like the plague. Oh, I don't want to go to the doctor. My mom, any little thing, I'm going to go to the doctor and get that looked at.
Yeah.
It's the same way with finances.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. And it's human nature.
Yeah.
I also think that, to add to that, men enjoy it. And so when they think about giving up some of that control, it may be a control thing, but I just
Sure.
think that it's fun for them. Or they're afraid of taking something away, and then they're like, well, what am I going to do with my time if they enjoy it, or what it might be? And so I think there's a combination of things that add up there. So Ellie is going to give us a bunch of resources next week that go along with if this is of interest to you and you want to take some additional steps to continue to grow and learn in whether it's business or entrepreneurship. She'll give us some things, podcasts, some books, and things like that. And she loves that. She is just always having information at her fingertips along these along the way on this kind of thing. Yeah. All right.
Clearly, from your stats and research, there's still work to be done to achieve gender parity in finance. It seems absurd to me that women make 82 cents on the dollar compared to men. Women continue to face challenges such as the gender pay gap and lack of representation in leadership roles.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's important that we take time on this show and spend the month talking about, women's history and just promoting and talking about women in entrepreneurship. One thing that I read, and I didn't read the whole article, is more of the headlines and subheads, was how important it is to have women in entrepreneurship and having a path to do that. And it's about taking things into control that are out of their control, like that 82 cents to the dollar comparison. As a business owner, you can have control of that. And then what do? You cascade it down to the employees. Is you don't want that as part of your environment. And so what a great thing that can be for our society and for women and so forth. Something else I read was in Forbes, and again, this was high level, but the spirit of it was that women don't necessarily start businesses for the money. Clearly, that is a bonus along the way, but they're doing it to improve something or to make an impact on society. And so if you think about all those kind of things combined, that's pretty powerful. They want to improve our world, and they're doing it for the right reason. So if you're someone who is considering starting a business or in the heart of it, there's tons of resources out there. If you think that you have something that's going to make an impact and you want to take control of things, there's things like I Fund Women. I think it's ifundwomen.com that is opportunities to get grants and microfunding for a business. That one I think is designed for women, but there's other ones. Barclays is a household name as well, and they have a small business big wins contest. So just look, if money is an obstacle in starting a business and being an entrepreneur, maybe it's not. Remove some of those obstacles. There's lots of things that are out there.
Become a contestant on Shark Tank.
Yes.
My wife and I love watching that show.
So it comes on after whatever we have, CNBC or something. It's on, I think, that channel. So when I'm still here sometimes at night, Shark Tank is on. See it a lot now. I'm not a TV person, but it plays over my head.
Yeah.
Everything you said, that's why initiatives like Women's History Month are so important. They shine a spotlight on the achievements of women in finance and inspire future generations to pursue their dreams, regardless of gender. As we wrap up today's episode, I encourage you to reflect on the contributions of women in finance and consider how you can support gender equality in the financial world.
And I have to say, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. I have to
To
give
coin a phrase from Nike.
I know. And Dee Dee said it. Can I instead of Nike, can I change it? Dee Dee said it from our last
Yes.
week's. I do have to say, just kind of my last plug here is I have had the opportunity to be mentored in my professional career by Tammy Lucius, and she was somebody that I had the opportunity to work with for just a little over 20 years, and to have somebody that's in front of you and you can use them as a resource. They pave the way where it sets the tone for what you know you can do and what's possible in front of you. And if you are somebody that is younger and you're still finding your way and figuring out who you want to be, or you're thinking you want to be an entrepreneur or anything just in a career in general, if there is somebody that you know that could be a mentor, I would say it doesn't have to be formal, but figure out how you can put yourself in a position to be with them and grow with them. It has been a wonderful experience for me, and I would say that's the last thing is if there is somebody that can be your mentor, or if you can be a mentor and a role model for somebody, I think it goes a long way in the industry of finance or any career that you're in. All right, Tony.
That's huge. Great show. Katie, great to have you on the show. What a great guest to bring on, Nikki. A great addition. And thank you for tuning in to Paladin Financial Talk. Join us next time as we continue to explore the fascinating world of finance and empowerment. Until then, remember to invest in yourself and the future.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony.